Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome to episode 36 of Life is Horror, the show where I talk all things in life horror related. This will be the Christmas themed episode or holiday themed episode because one of these movies I'm going to be talking about is New Year's Eve. So it's a holiday show, going to review 5 movies from this year. Actually, one of them's from the 80s that I'm surprised I didn't review before on my channel. So, 5 movies, holiday themed, and give you guys a holiday horror quiz and rank my top 10 favorite horror movies set around Christmas. So, let's get into the reviews first. Alright, so let's talk about Time's Up, New Year, No You. This got a release in July, I read, which is a weird time to release a movie like this set around New Year's. So yeah, it's a slasher movie, and let's pull up the plot synopsis here. On New Year's Eve, a faculty party for teachers is beset upon by an unexpected guest with an unusual request: participate in a scavenger hunt or die. So yeah, we haven't had a scavenger hunt slasher in quite some time. When was the last time we had that? Was it 1982's? What was it called? It had 2 names actually. Girls' Night Out. That's right. So it's kind of Girls' Night Out, but worse. I did not like this movie. Opens with a sudden, shocking suicide. Got this depressed-looking guy just walking through the woods, sits up against a tree, and blows his brains out. And that's the opening. And you got the music over the credits. I thought was really catchy, so I really liked the soundtrack. But that was the best part, was the opening. And the mask that the killer wears is fine. It's right there on the cover. You can see it right there. It's an old man. I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. Is that supposed to be somebody that I should know? I don't know. They actually, I think in the movie they explain why he's wearing that mask, and I forget what the reason was. Who it's supposed to be? Somebody from history. I don't know who it is, but yeah, the acting was pretty horrible from a lot of people, especially like the victims in the opening who aren't in the movie a whole lot. So thank God for that. Like literally, the acting was like this: please, no, don't kill me, that kind of shit. Like it was that bad. I'm not exaggerating. They at one point they're told they have to bury their phone in the snow, so that's gonna like destroy it, I guess. But they don't even bury it. Like it's just a sign that says bury your phone. They walk up to it and they just place it on the ground where there was no snow, and then they just walk away. And it's like that's not gonna destroy the phone. They would. You should have just came back for it. Like, there's so many things like that just are so dumb in this movie. Like, why would the killer move Rachel's body to, and like they don't know how to check pulses, but then I guess that's explained at the end. Um, this made the reveal obvious. That whole checking the pulse scene. Yeah, spoiler. Like that scene, it gives it away that there's 2 killers. I mean, in the movie, it seems like the killer's like teleporting a bunch, but then it becomes obvious, like, okay, there's 2 killers, and then that pulse checking scene, you're like, okay, I mean, I already knew that person was going to be killer because how it's set up. Whenever a character is like dying off camera in the distance or screaming, and then they just walk up, they see them on the ground, pretend dead, and there's like no marks on their body whatsoever. Immediately, as someone who's watched like 1,000 horror movies, you're like, okay, something's fishy here. That person just faked their death. It happens a lot in movies, and it was no shock here when it happened. I don't care to spoil it. I'm going to spoil it because you don't need to watch this movie. The person who's dying off camera, spoiler, they faked their death. You don't need to watch this movie. So characters, they separate like a bad cliche. Let's split up, and then you got cop characters that show up to be idiots, but they're played by Felissa Rose, one of them, and the other one's played by Officer Doofus from Scary Movie. Yeah, just very wooden performances. Hated the performances, and I think the guy who wrote and directed this movie is the main guy. He was one of the burglars in Your Next. Jonathan Tiersten from Sleepaway Camp. He's in this also. He lamely dies. His death was pretty lame, and also Scream ending. 2 killers. Uh, Library kill shows us that there's 2 killers or that they're supernatural. Like it becomes pretty obvious in the library scene. Like, okay, this is supernatural or there's 2 people doing this, and Also, the killer seems to be like a ventriloquist who can throw their voice in a few scenes. It seems like, how the hell are they talking from all the way over there, but they're actually over there? Like, they're clearly like throwing their voice, it seemed. And the kid, yeah, so the kid at the beginning who blows his brains out, like, the reason he did it was because his teacher, who's like twice his age, didn't love him. He fell in love with his teacher because she was nice to him. But it's like we never even see this kid actually getting bullied, so I don't even buy it. Like, they don't show us why he's so depressed. It's like, oh, my teacher won't fuck me. I'm just gonna blow my brains out in the woods. Like, that's it. That's all it took for this guy. Jeez. And like, why did he sign up for wrestling? They don't make you do wrestling in high school, do they? Not when I went. Like, so it's like this little, you know, out of shape, kid, like, who's clearly gonna get picked on by these guys if he signs up for wrestling. Why did he do it? Why did he put himself in that situation? I don't get it. Like, why would you sign up for wrestling? It's like you're asking to get your ass kicked and to get bullied even more. But like I said, we don't actually see him getting like ridiculed. And so yeah, that all that shit with that character could have been written better. The killer gets stabbed in the heart, but doesn't die. They always come back for one last scare. And you got Damian Maffei as one of the three strangers. He was one of the three strangers in Strangers Pray at Night. He's one of the main douchebags in this movie. He's like the wrestling coach. He's an asshole. He gets like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre kill on this one from the latest movie, where a certain bone gets used as a knife on him. And yeah, overall, there's very little gore though. You got that one violent kill, but the rest was pretty lame off camera. This movie just did not work for me. I mostly hated it. So, Time's Up was time wasted. Next movie is It's a Wonderful Knife. Uh, that's like a jokey title based on like It's a Wonderful Life, a movie I've never seen. So I didn't. So there's probably like a lot of like inside jokes or references to It's a Wonderful Life in this movie that I didn't get because I've never seen it. So what's the synopsis for this one? This is by Tyler McIntyre from he did Patchwork, which I really liked, and he did one of those segments in one of the recent VHS movies, and he also did Tragedy Girl. So he did two movies that I really liked. So I went to this movie thinking that he was gonna bring the same, shit over into this movie that made those movies good. But no, Winnie's life is less than wonderful 1 year after saving her town from a psychotic killer on Christmas Eve. When she wishes she was never born, she finds herself magically transported to a nightmarish parallel universe. With the murderous maniac now back, she must team up with a misfit to identify the culprit and get back to her own reality. Snap back to reality. And it's a dumb, poorly written, gore free, tit free slasher whodunit that lacks creativity, not only in the kills, but also the writing. They could have done so much more with this alternate universe bullshit, but they did like nothing. Like, oh, I never existed, so the one thing that's gonna change is this guy's the sheriff and my brother's dead. Okay, cool. But they live in the same house. It's decorated the same way. Almost got the same pictures hanging up on the wall. They still had the same kid that grew up to be the same person. They still like, had him at the same time. They just because she was older, so they just didn't have her. Waited the same amount of time to have the next kid. Like, when you really think about it, there's a lot wrong here. So many holes. There's a lot that just makes no fucking sense in this movie, and it requires you to turn your brain completely off to enjoy it even a little. The killer, like in many slashers, as of late, just seems to keep teleporting. So I started to think maybe there's two killers, but no, he just seems to keep teleporting, even at the beginning. And you know who the killer is in the opening scene. They basically just let you know. It's kind of like Friday the 13th Part 5. Just look at the camera, show them how evil you are. You got Justin Long in this, who I thought was horrible. I hated the voice he was using. And the Buck character is over the top, retarded, the humor, cringy. This movie hits you over the head with its wokeness, and that's not something I usually complain about in movies. I'm not one of those guys that's always like, this movie's so woke, but this movie was pretty damn woke. And virtually every character is gay. I thought that was interesting. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, good thing. I was just like, wow, there's like every character in this movie, almost every single one of them was gay. They should have called it It's a Fabulous Life. That would have been a or Fabulous Knife. That would have been a better title. The one kill seemed a bit vicious, but the throat slit effect was edited poorly. Like he goes to slit this guy's throat, but it's already bleeding. So it was like it was the second time he was cutting his throat. Like that was so horrible. And the movie just turns supernatural out of like nowhere. Like extra supernatural. Like it's supernatural already, the whole premise, like alternate universe stuff, but then it goes a step further into like mind control shit, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? It just came out of left field, and yeah, the movie looked good, captured the Christmas aesthetic well. The movie gets extra supernatural, like I said. And even when that scene starts, right before that little twist, like you see what he's about to do up there on stage. And why does Weirdo, the love interest in this movie, the misfit, how is it that she retains all the memories of this like alternate universe, but everybody else like it's like Men in Black and like it's just erased from their minds? Was there an explanation? Did I miss it? It makes no sense. Like when she goes back to her reality, she walks back to the weirdo's house and she's like, I remember everything. So their whole adventure, she still remembers, but her own parents and everyone around her does not remember everything that just happened. Why? Just so they can have this extra happy ending at the end and they don't have to like write a scene where she has to explain everything that happened and try to convince her like, no, you don't get it, we went on this adventure together, we fell in love. And like, so they're like, fuck that, we're just gonna write that she somehow knows everything because why not? Like, lazy writing. The fact that there's a like northern lights in the sky in whatever state this is in America, like that's impossible. They do mention the fact that, oh, that's rare. It's like, I don't think it's rare, I think it's impossible. Like, when can you ever see the northern lights in the US unless maybe you're in Alaska? But this isn't Alaska. But who knows? Seeing the one character back from the dead was evident enough. Wait, hold on. Yeah, characters are so quick to believe her. Yeah, so that was crazy. So characters are very quick to believe her when she's like, "No, I'm from an alternate universe," and it's like it barely takes anything to get them on board. They're like, "Okay, yeah, I believe you because you said one thing," and then, but for her, the main character, it took a lot for her to finally accept it as reality. Like, okay, this is happening. But it's like, as soon as you saw the one person back from the grave who you killed in the other universe, wouldn't that be evidence enough for you to be like, okay, this is real? But instead, it was like, I felt like there was 10 more minutes after that where she was like, I'm still not buying it. It's like, Jesus Christ, lady, everyone around you is easy to believe it, but you don't believe it. Seeing all these people, it's just so dumb. And then like, who do you find out the other killer is in this universe? Like where all that story goes. Like the who done it aspect of this movie is horrible. Like you know who the killer is in both universes. They make it so obvious. They're not even trying. And the characters I didn't care about, and it's horrible. Like I couldn't believe how horrible this movie was. So yeah, it's a horrible knife. Skip this movie. Um, Number three, Don't Open Till Christmas. This is from 1984, and it's about a killer, a Santa Claus killer. He's going around killing people dressed as Santa, as opposed to a killer going around dressed as Santa. So it's the opposite of Silent Night, Deadly Night. And so yeah, it's kind of like a giallo, and it's from the producers of Pieces. It's directed by the killer in Pieces, and he stars in this movie. It's shot in London. It's set in London. You got a lot of familiar actors from other 80s slashers like Slaughter High. There's like two or three actors from that movie in this one. It's kind of sleazy, and but this movie has some production issues, and it's quite evident when you're watching it. It feels like so many scenes are just kind of like inserted after the fact, like they don't actually play a part in the story. Like no one, like people will die, and the police don't even like talk about but they'll talk about some of the other deaths. But it's like all this other shit is just kind of randomly inserted. Like there's death scenes that are like 5 seconds long. They'll just cut to a guy in an alleyway, and then 2 seconds later he just gets shot in the face, and then the scene quickly ends, and it's like, whoa, like let go back. What happened? Like it's so quick. Like in the first 10 minutes of this movie, you got like already 5 kills. or 4 kills in the yeah 4 kills in the first 10 minutes. It's very flatly directed. It's not well directed at all. Lacks like no coverage and doesn't feel Christmassy really. There's no snow. There's no like Christmas decorations anywhere. They cut to the same shot of the Scotland Yard sign like 40 times in the movie. Opens up with POV like Halloween's a very long one take shot going up to a car around the cars. These two people making love in there. You got the heavy breathing of the killer. So very of the time, back when that shit was popular. And the mask sucks. I did not like the mask. It's not even really much of a mask. It's like it's clear, like transparent, almost like Alice, Sweet Alice in the way, but it's not spray painted at all. It's just like a plastic face over his face, so you can clearly see the killer's face behind this mask. And it's very easy to guess who it is. Like this movie does not create a bunch of red herrings at all. It's like it's either this guy or this guy, I guess, but it's so clearly this guy because the mask gives it away. You can see his face clear as day, and the hair, like, um, so yeah, and also the fact that the guy who ends up being the killer, he just looks crazy. He just has that crazy look in his eyes. The main couple in this movie are pretty boring, and they play the flute on the street corners for cash. You got this bizarre, funny ending. You got like this music box, Jack in the Box explosive. Um, why did this thing pop up? Hold on. My mouse is acting up right now, and this damn thing just popped up. Get away. Uh, sorry about that. All right, so yeah, there's some sleazy moments. There's a moment where a girl in a Santa outfit is just walking around outside, half naked, and so yeah, you got like a peep show thing, and the production design just looked really cheap. Like this whole cheap peep show thing, like they just got like a black blanket behind them, and it's like I don't know, it looks so cheap this movie, but it's enjoyable because of its cheesiness. And there's a lot of kills. There's like dicks getting cut off at urinals, and there's two separate women in this movie who like don't even scream when they're being attacked, and it's kind of frustrating. Like, why wouldn't you? And the whole this movie kind of like My Bloody Valentine at the end, like gives you that flashback to show you why the killer snapped, and it was so confusing. Like, I still have no idea what they're saying there. Like, was the killer's dad the one dressed as Santa? Was his dad cheating on his mom? Was his mom cheating on his dad with Santa? Like, they don't even tell you who these characters are. You just kind of have to quickly piece it all together yourself. Like, wait, who's this? I think this is what's happening. Like, I don't understand anything there. The killer comes back for one last scare again. And so, yeah, that flashback was just for the audience. Like, the characters in the movie aren't figuring out who and, like, they're not figuring out why. It's like they're just telling us why it's happening. Um, but yeah, decent pace. It's very quick, like kill, 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 and high body count, but just not a very well made movie. Not at all. So expect it to be shittily made, poorly acted. But if you just want to see a bunch of kills and a high body count, this is a movie to check out from 1984. Now we got The Sacrifice Game, just dropped on Shudder recently, and this is from the director of The Ranger, and Jen Wexler. Christmas Break in 1971, so it's a period piece. Samantha and Clara, two students who are staying behind for the holidays at their boarding school, must survive the night after the arrival of uninvited visitors. One of them being Aladdin, I think, from the recent Aladdin live adaptation. All right, so starts with a great long take around the house. The opening shot of this movie I thought was pretty cool. Again, kind of Halloween-esque, like just a shot of the house from across the street. Then it gets closer to the house, goes around the house, and we're looking through the windows, seeing this murder take place. Thought that was pretty cool. The twist in the middle-ish, kind of early on, it's it's not surprising at all. Like, cause it's you got these two kids, and one of them is acting pretty bizarre, and you're like, okay. And then every time there's a kill that happens that this cult is doing, it cuts to her like waking up, so you instantly sense like there's a connection between the two. Some kind of supernatural shit's happening here. But I did like the main girl, Clara, her performance. It was kind of like Lulu Wilson in Ouija Origins of Evil. Kind of reminded me of her. Um, just a really creepy kid. And Jude, who I think that was Aladdin, that guy. He was a bit over the top. There were some moments of blood and gore in this that looked a little CG ish, like, and just wasn't a fan of that. And there's not a lot of it. There's not a lot of gore. There's a bloody throat slit, some fingers getting chopped off. The main protagonist looked like an adult in her face. Like you got, I don't know how old she was supposed to be, but I'm guessing around 15, 16. Like her voice was like a child, but when I looked at her face, I saw like someone my age. I'm like, this is weird. It was very distracting. She just looked way older in her face than she sounded, and it was, yeah, very distracting. It's set in 1971 for whatever reason. I guess because that's when cults like this were kind of popular, more believable, I guess, back then, religious cults. And I guess to get rid of cell phones, that's another reason, set it in 1971. And but they do call the cops on one moment, and it takes forever for them to get there. Of course, they show up at the end when everything's done. Typical horror movie trope. And so the antagonist of this movie, this supernatural entity, this cult is trying to like resurrect or bring forth this demon, summon this demon, and of course they're successful. It's not really a spoiler. You expect it to go in that direction, so you got this evil, but they write it to where this evil can't actually physically touch them. So this thing has to make it forces them to try to kill each other or kill themselves. So I thought that was kind of interesting, rather than just have the evil, because it could just in another movie just kill them instantly, just with its powers. Like so, I guess it's like a writing convenience. Like, all right, realistically, if this thing existed, they'd be dead now. Like this thing would not waste time, just kill them. But instead, they write it in a way where it has to, you know, make them do this shit to each other, stab each other, or they have to kill themselves. It can psychologically mess with them, it kind of make them see things, to just keep torturing them that way to where they just want to kill themselves. It's got all these powers, it can do so many things, but it can't touch you. Convenient, but I guess it just works better that way for the movie. It was shot decent enough. The performances didn't suck. The one cult member had a couple of humorous moments. I forget his character's name, but he was like the comic relief guy, the guy who drove the car, the guy who got like barely shot, but he acted like it was so bad, like, oh my gosh, I'm bleeding everywhere. It's like it nicked you, you pussy. It's one of those kind of characters. And but yeah, the movie just doesn't really go anywhere that interesting or intense at the end. Like once things really got going and the evil was like unleashed, like it should have gotten crazy. Like I was expecting it to get a little nuts and hoping that it would just get extra gory, but you just get this one quick gore shot of fingers cut off, and that's really it. I don't know, like it didn't really wow me in the third act. I was like, okay, that's it. And then like even the one character's decision, I won't spoil, but there's a character that makes a decision, and you're like, yeah, I kind of saw that. Like I figured that's what that character would do in this situation, and that's where they're going with it. And it's like, so yeah, there's no real surprises here, but I still enjoyed it because the opening was cool and I was digging the pace of it. The performances didn't suck. That one character was kind of funny, and it kind of got like this love triangle or love quad, whatever it is, four, because there's like three guys that love this one girl. Yeah, like the cult was entertaining. The one girl was creepy. Her performance was good, and yeah. So, but just don't expect a lot here. Just it's not a big wild movie. It's one location, uh, and yeah, it was fine. So I give it like a 3 out of 5. It's an okay movie. It's not a total waste of time. Like the last Christmas movie from this year I talked about, It's a Wonderful Knife. Ugh. All right, Something in the Barn. This movie just recently got released. Also, it's currently on Prime, and it's about. This is a comedy horror movie, and it's about an American family fulfills their dream of moving back to their roots after inheriting a remote cabin in the mountains of Norway, but there's a surprise waiting for them. Spoiler, barn elves. Not a spoiler at all. That's what it's all about. It's about a barn elf. And so yeah, this movie felt like almost like Gremlins, but with barn elves and more blood. Um, it's not super violent, but it was more violent than I was expecting because of the tone of the movie. It just felt very much like for the first hour I was watching like a family comedy horror-ish. But then the third act, it was like, holy shit, now there's like this blood and a little bit of gore here and there. I was like, Jesus. So kind of a tonal shift. I was not expecting it to go that. I mean, there are f bombs here and there. They make it kind of like a character trait for the daughter. Like she likes to drop an f bomb here and there, and that the mom gets upset. Like, don't say that. Uh, and but yeah, she's like the daughter. That's the stepmom and the daughter, typical relationship there where like she doesn't like her because she's the stepmom, and but dude, how hot is the stepmom? Like I could not believe like this guy, this doofus from what's it called, Spider Man. Couldn't remember the name of Spider Man. Jesus, yeah, those recent Spider Man movies. There's that one character like the teacher who's like just an idiot, and he basically plays the same type of character here. He's just a complete moron, and you cannot believe for a second that he got this woman. Like she is way out of his league. She is so hot. And at first, I thought she was his daughter. Like she looked very young at first, but then when I got a closer look, I realized she was a bit older. But I was like, geez, like that's his wife. She looks like she's like 20 at first, but yeah, she was super attractive, hot mom, and so yeah, Christmas horror comedy, and the first hour very family friendly horror comedy. You forget that it's rated R until the third act. It gets surprisingly violent, and but I do like that they don't make the stepmom too much of a stereotype like you expect in other movies. Like, oh, she's the stepmom, she's wicked, she's gonna be a complete, bitch to her kids. Like, they're your kids, not mine. She's gonna be like that stepmom and dolls. Not the case here at all. They do have some good character moments. The stepmom with the stepdaughter, and the son. I would say is the weakest actor. I'm not sure if anyone else agrees, but I thought he was just very wooden. I don't know, like, and of course, like he would be the first one to see the barn elves. It's always the youngest member of the family that sees whatever it is, a creature, in this case, a barn elf, or even a haunted house movie. It's always the youngest that's gonna see, like Carol Ann and Poltergeist. It's always the youngest that sees what's happening first and has to try to convince everybody else, like, no, you understand, like this, and but I'm glad there wasn't a lot of that in this movie because I can't stand, like, it's such a horror movie thing where the kids trying to explain to their parents like, no, it wasn't me that did this, it was the creature or it was the ghost, like I didn't break that, it was this, and they're like, shut up, you're lying, and you had a nightmare, or all that shit. Like I thought there was going to be a lot of that shit in this movie, but thankfully not. um there's a lot of setups and clever payoffs. It's always snowing and feels very cold and Christmassy throughout, so I like that. The soundtrack consists of a few different Christmas song classics, and the cinematography is great. Pacing is mostly good, and there's a couple of slowdown moments in the third act, and I don't get why the elves at one moment just kind of like stop their attack. Like they just locked themselves. The characters locked themselves in a bedroom, and then the elves just quickly like forget that they're there. They just go like, "All right, let's party." And it's like, wait, I thought you guys were attacking these people. They just kind of like drop it. I was like, what the hell's going on here? The youngest kid, yeah, wasn't the greatest actor, but um, yeah, 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 yeah. Another moment of teleportation. Like this one elf. It's mainly one elf for like the first hour, and this thing is so quick on its feet in the first hour. Like it's there, and then the camera will like, pan over there, loud noise, pans back, and it's like a split second, and this thing's gone. Like it just was flash. But then in the third act, when we see all these elves attacking, they're running around like normal speed. And they got such small legs, it's like there's no way they would be that fast. But in the first hour, it's just like boom, he's just gone all the time. Like he's that fast on his feet. But then the third act, it's like, no, they have to actually run everywhere, normal speed. So that was a little annoying. It's like, come on, you can't just have them like teleporting literally at the beginning and then like now they can't. Like, Jesus, what's with all these movies and like teleporting, antagonists? It's annoying. Um, so that's my main quibble with the film. It's just all that teleporting shit. It always bugs me. And and then the women in the family, they become the damsels in distress. They have to be saved. And then that I was questioning. It's like, wait, so these things wanted to murder this family for like so long, and then they finally reached the women, and it's like, let's capture them and then take them to our place over here. For what? What were they gonna do? Are they gonna mate with them? Like, what was that? Where was that going? I don't know. So that just seemed forced, like a forced movie trope. Like we gotta kidnap the women, and then the guys have to go save them. It's like, come on, do we have to do that? But yeah, there's a lot of fun scenes. You know, the barn elves just throwing saw blades, the snowmobile chase. There's a snowmobile kill in the movie. It's pretty bloody. Um, yeah, it was. I had a great time with this movie. I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I can see myself watching this every year around Christmas now. So I give it a 4 out of 5. It's really enjoyable. Check it out if you like comedy, horror movies, creature features. Although they're not like creatures, I guess. They're elves, but they're not elves like that movie Elves, where it's like a monster. That's a creature feature from 1989. This is barn elves. Like these actually look like little people. So yeah, I wouldn't say this is a creature feature, but if I said anything, if you like, what I've been saying, if it sounds intriguing, then check it out. I recommend it. It's pretty fun. So something in the barn, highly enjoyable. Check it out. So now let's quickly do a ranking. I'm not gonna review these movies as I talk about them. I'm just gonna bring them up. My ranking. Let's fly through this. All right. So top 10 horror movies set around Christmas. I guess I'll shout out a few honorable mentions or say movies that didn't make the list and why right now. Inside, very popular French extreme film. I really like it, and I reviewed it. But does it really feel Christmassy? No, it doesn't. It's a home invasion movie. They set it on Christmas Eve, but you never once, when shit gets going, and you never once are like, yeah, this very much feels like a Christmas movie. It doesn't feel Christmassy at all. Not in the slightest. Psycho. It starts on December 11th. But does it feel like it's December when you're watching that movie? No, you completely forget after that opening title card that's December. Right after that, you're like, all right, it feels like a summer movie when I watch it. So Psycho did not make the list. Violent Night, the Santa Die Hard movie from last year, that's not a horror movie. It's listed as a crime or a comedy action thriller, but mainly a comedy action movie. It's like Home Alone meets Die Hard, so it's not going to make the list. And Die Hard's not going to make the list. It's not a horror movie. And so, yeah, I guess that will be my honorable mentions for now. And let's get into it. All right, so number 10, Dead End, a movie set on Christmas Eve, and it's about a family that's on their way to their in-laws on Christmas Eve, and then they realize that the road that they're on just keeps going. They almost get in a car accident, and then after that they start seeing weird shit, and there's a little surprise ending for some people, unless I saw it coming, but there's a twist ending, and it's very funny movie. Number 9, a movie with many titles. So many titles. It's a French movie from 1989 called Game Over. That's just one of the titles. Deadly Game. There's another title like 36.15 Code Para Noel. And so yeah, this is a movie that's like Home Alone also, but before Home Alone. And this is a better Home Alone movie, in my opinion. You got Thomas, a very intelligent, resourceful child who's left alone with his beloved and fragile, very blind granddad on Christmas Eve when a psychopath dressed as Santa Claus, who's also a pedophile, by the way, so that makes it extra creepy, and he breaks into their mansion and starts chasing them. Thomas will do whatever he can to save himself and his granddad, leaving much of his childhood innocence behind. And the house in this movie, it's not even a house, it's a fucking castle. It's huge. The house in this is a character in the film, and it's gorgeous. And I love the location. The main character, the kid, is pretty cool. He's Rambo. Literally, there's like references to Rambo in this, the way he gears up and puts war paint on his face. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. Number 8, Better Watch Out. Very dark movie, kind of funny games-esque, like just how sick and twisted it gets. And it's another movie that's very twisty, and also Best to Go In Blind. I reviewed this movie back when I first started my channel, and I really enjoy it. It's very dark, but also a little bit of humor in it. And on a quiet suburban street tucked within a safe neighborhood, which was the alternate title for the movie, Safe Neighborhood, And a babysitter must defend a 12-year-old boy from strangers breaking into the house, only to discover that this is far from a normal home invasion. And it's got the two actors from M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit as the two leads here. And number seven. All right, so number seven is no, that's not my number seven. That's my number six. So number six, I I fucked this up. So my number six is The Conjuring 2, but number seven, Jesus Christ, I'm fucked up here. Seven is Christmas Evil. Um, and this movie, discovered it a few years ago, reviewed it, and I love it almost a little more each time. I just love the premise of this movie, the main character, his performance, how wacky it is. That ending is such a what the fuck ending. Um, and at first, I didn't really like it the first time because it was just so, just, I don't know, not what I was expecting, and it took it in a different direction the whole movie. And I didn't understand what they were trying to say there. Like, is this really happening? Is this like psychological? Is it supernatural? I don't know. But I I accept it now, but just I really enjoy the main character of this movie. It's just such a fun ride. I've heard some people say it has like some pacing issues. I can see that, but on rewatch, once you know what kind of movie it is, it's not a traditional slasher, although there is a couple of slashery kills in it. Once you know what it is, I think it's a better movie on rewatch. So if you've only seen it once and you didn't like it that much, I highly recommend checking it out again because it gets better on rewatch. Number six really is The Conjuring 2. This is a movie that some people probably forgot is Christmas, but yes, it is a Christmas movie set in December. You even got Christmas music playing in one scene. There's Christmas trees everywhere, decor. Like, it's a Christmas movie. Once they get to New England, and even the whole ending shot of the movie is the Warrens dancing to like Elvis music in front of a Christmas tree, and so yeah, it's very much a Christmas movie. It doesn't like hit you over the head with it being Christmas the whole time. You do forget in moments that it's set at that time, but because it's technically a Christmas movie and I love the movie so much, it had to make my list. Conjuring 2 is my number 6. Love it. And I reviewed it. Number 5, Krampus. Now, this is a Christmas movie beginning to end. Love the atmosphere of this movie and the creature effects in this. Great stuff. And of course, this movie is about, a horror. It's a horror comedy based on the ancient legend about a pagan creature who punishes children on Christmas. And it's got another ending, kind of like Christmas Evil, where you're questioning, like, what does this mean exactly? Is it this or is it that? Number 4, Gremlins. Yeah, I've reviewed basically all these movies except for Dead End and Game Over. So my number 1 through 8, I review these movies. So number 4, Gremlins, very nostalgic movie for me. My number 4 and 3 are probably the most watched movies and the ones I saw the earliest in my life. As a kid, I saw this one pretty young, and yeah, I really enjoy it. My only complaint with this movie is the rules they establish make no fucking sense, especially the one about the time. It's like you can't feed them after midnight, but when can you start feeding them? It makes no sense. It's so dumb. It's like a weird writing mistake to make from a writer who has shown that he's a great writer. All the other shit he's written is pretty good, but it's such a weird thing he wrote here. Like the rules, they just make little sense. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Stop animation, creature effects, very fun stuff, very Christmassy, and we all know what this is about. It's about a guy getting a mogwai, and then it turns into gremlins, and then the creatures wreak havoc in the town, and they gotta stop the creatures from killing everybody. It's a PG or PG-13 maybe, horror comedy, family friendly, something you can watch with the kids. Number 3 is P2. Saw this at the theater. I was only like 12 years old. Really love this movie. Love the cat and mouse chase, the tension. It's got so much great tension in the movie. Great performances by the lead two here. It's a two-man show, or a man and a woman show, and just a lot of fun. Like it's got a very strong, smart female protagonist who makes like no dumb decisions that I saw. Like, she is very strong and brave and underrated. This whole movie is just underrated. Love Wes Bentley in it. And yeah, another movie I reviewed, and another movie that I'm just going to breeze through and get to my number 2 because this video is getting too long. So, Silent Night, Deadly Night. This is my number 2. Saw this for the first time in 2018 and reviewed it then. Loved it. Very cheesy, very sleazy. about a killer Santa, a guy who thinks he's Santa, kind of like Christmas Evil. Little Billy witnesses his parents being brutally murdered by Santa. Years later, when he has to fill in for an absent in-store Santa Claus, his childhood trauma materializes once again. And yeah, just love this movie. Very rewatchable. Little downtime in the movie. Great characters. Very fun. And lots of memorable kills in it. Number one, another movie that I saw for the first time in 2018. Loved it and reviewed it then. Also, very creepy movie that gets under your skin. Yeah, I remember watching it on the 45-year anniversary and just with the lights off and the music and the volume blasted and those phone calls. So creepy. Like, literally, like goosebumps. Like, gave me chills. Love the phone calls in this movie. Love the atmosphere of the film. A couple of iconic kills in it. It's not even gory at all, practically bloodless, but the kills are shot in a way and edited in a way where it just works. The whole bag strangulation. Like, it's such a great iconic movie for a reason. It's so terrific. It's my favorite Bob Clark movie by far. My favorite Christmas horror movie to watch every Christmas morning. And you already know what's about. It's a sorority house terrorized by a stranger who makes frightening phone calls and then murders the sorority sisters during Christmas break. That's what it's about. And yeah, so there you go. My top 10. What is your top 10? Some other honorable mentions, I guess I'll shout out real quick. I already talked about Inside, the Silent Night remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night. I really like that movie. I like the Black Christmas remake, the only remake in my opinion. The only true remake of Black Christmas, Black Xmas. Fuck that other shit. Doesn't exist. Day of the Beast. I've only seen that movie once. I liked it. I didn't think it was as amazing as everyone says. This movie, to me, is a little overrated. This movie has a ridiculously high rating on IMDb. It's like in the sevens, which is pretty damn good for a horror movie. But yeah, I just remember it being okay. I had a lot of like poorly aged like visual effects in it. I think it's like a late '90s movie. Jack Frost. I like that movie a little more and more each year. I always remember that poster. It's like I forget what they call that poster where like it kind of changes the image depending on like how you're looking at it. I forget what that's called, but yeah, I'll always remember that poster growing up, walking by it in Hollywood Video. Night of the Comet is a Christmas movie, in case you didn't remember, and I enjoy that movie. PG-13 kind of zombie end of the world film, but yeah, enjoyable. Rare Exports. I've been seeing this movie get mentioned a lot lately. Everyone's talking about it, like hidden gem, underrated. I think it's good, but I don't think it's amazing. I've seen it twice. Advent Calendar, like that one. The Lodge, slow burn, psychological horror film. All Through the House, a cheesy low budget slasher film, kind of like a throwback to the 80s, kind of sleepaway camp inspired with the whole story of what's going on. Whoever Slew Auntie Roo is set during Christmas. I've only seen that movie once. And The Leech from last year. I liked that movie. And then, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. I've seen like 50 Christmas horror movies, but I'll just end it there, I guess. Christmas Horror Story. It's really the only horror anthology that's Christmas that I've seen. I don't think I've seen any. Is there any other horror anthology that's Christmas only? Because you got the one holidays that's like every holiday, but this might be the only Christmas anthology, or maybe it's just the most well known one out there. I don't know any other ones, but yeah, check that one out. It's all right. Not great, but. And Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, underrated. I like it. It does not feel very Christmassy. It has nothing to do with Christmas. It's about witches. It's coven, but it's got a lot of great effects in it. It's pretty good. So check that out. All right, so there you go. Now let's jump into the quiz. I'm going to quiz you guys 20 questions, some true or false, some multiple choice, all about holiday horror films. So it's not just Christmas horror films, it's all holiday horror films. So let's get going. Let's start the quiz with question number 1. Before setting his film Krampus at Christmas Wish Holiday, did director Michael Dougherty feature his anthology horror movie? Question 2. Which of the Silent Night, Deadly Night sequels achieved cult status featuring the memorable line, Garbage Day? Question 3. What are the names of the 3 birthday-themed horror movies released in '81? That's right, there was 3 of them. What are they? I reviewed all 3 of them. Which classic holiday horror movie features a woman with a plastic bag over her head on the poster? Question 5. In which series of alien horror movies was a man dressed as the Easter Bunny killed by a small alien creature? Question 6. Which of the following holiday horror movies has yet to be remade? Black Christmas, Halloween, Christmas Evil, or My Bloody Valentine? Question 7. Which American professional wrestler starred as an evil Santa Claus in the movie Santa's Sleigh? Question 8. What is the name of the slasher movie set during a live television broadcast in a hotel on New Year's Eve? Question 9. Guess the holiday horror film from the following review. If you see only one fiendishly bizarre Finnish film about an evil Santa Claus and his naked band of marauding elves this holiday season, make it ... Question 10. The remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night took some inspiration from a real-life murder case in which a man killed 9 people dressed as Santa Claus. True or false? Question 11. Which holiday is featured in Jeff Lieberman's movie Satan's Little Helper? Question 12. What is the name of the horror anthology movie that features segments for every major holiday? Question 13 is, for which film did director James Wan tweet that he had aimed to make it a Christmas-themed and set horror film? Question 14. In which holiday horror movie did the character Jeremy Milton return in disguise as Adam Carr to kill the 5 girls who rejected him in school? Question 15. Which holiday is being celebrated in the slasher movie Terror Train starring Jamie Lee Curtis? Which holiday horror movie am I describing? There's a fairy, an island, a whoopee cushion, an exploding cigar, and a jack-in-a-box. Which of the Halloween sequels takes place during the shooting of a live internet reality show? Question 18. Which of the following movies is not the name of a real movie set during Christmas? You Better Watch Out, Christmas Fright, To All a Good Night, or Don't Open Till Christmas? Question 19. Where do the characters in Boo decide to spend Halloween night? Last question is, which holiday is celebrated during the film Blood Rage? That's not cranberry sauce. All right, there you go. That is the quiz. Let me know the answers if you want in the comments below and all your thoughts on Christmas horror movies. Let me know your top 10, yada, yada, yada. Comment whatever. Keep it friendly. Keep it positive. And I'll see you in the next video, whatever that will be about. I don't know. So, yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody, and good night.